think everybody's here. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Amsterdam. Welcome to Gaming in Holland. My name is Willem van Oort, founder of Gaming in Holland. Actually, I made a career move into this industry 10 years ago. I think it's a fascinating industry where knowledge and experience is challenged on a daily basis. Very dynamic. It's because of this challenging environment that we started organizing the conference. To be able for industry to share, meet, network in one place. At Gaming in Holland, a platform for lotteries and iGaming. 1 month per year, our time is taken up by organizing this conference. The rest of the year, we're active as business consultants in regulated markets like the UK, Spain, and Belgium. And I hope we can add Holland to that list soon. New this year is a strong presence of the lottery sector. I hope you'll be as impressed as I am that we have both global and local thought leaders in the same room this morning. A special welcome to you from Gaming in Holland. Thank you.
Willem asked me to provide you with a brief snapshot of the most relevant regulatory and political developments since the last year's Gaming in Holland conference, which was held in 2014. I will make a number of observations. Some of them may be a bit controversial, of course, which hopefully function as a starting point for in-depth discussions in the next few days. By now, many observers, including myself, take the view licenses will only become available in 2017, much to the detriment of an estimated 1 million Dutch consumers. Furthermore, a recalibration of the lottery regulation was announced in July 2014. The lottery letter, as it's referred to, discusses the potential merger between the state lottery and the lotto, which will create, as I called it last year, an 800-pound gorilla in the sector, comparable to the position of PMU and Française des Jeux. And furthermore, it's announced to allow new initiatives and market entrance only in 2017. Not only does this deviate from what was previously announced in the coalition agreement and the initial policy note of Fred Teven of 19 March 2011, in my view, this non-transparent reallocation of said licenses is clearly in breach of settled case law, notably the Betfair decision. Overall, the ministry clearly sticks to its guns in its response, and it does not materially change its position. The State Secretary thoroughly clearly rejects any sort of head start for incumbent operators, the so-called pre-launch, as this breaches EU law. A channelization rate of 80% will not be achieved, according to the State Secretary, if reliable and experienced operators are excluded from the market when it opens. A final development was the parliamentary roundtable, which was held on the 21st of May, which was rather disappointing, to say the least. Lobby and public affairs, concealed under the veil of academic expert opinions, made me come up with the term science fixing that day. By many observers, this remarkable day in Parliament was not perceived as one of the highlights of parliamentary democracy, to put it mildly. Nevertheless, it's time to wake up in The Hague and take the much-needed action to finally ensure an estimated 1 million Dutch consumers get the domestic protection they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for the introduction. And let me first start by complimenting you, Justin, for your excellent analysis and introduction. Part of your speech could have been mine. It's up to you to decide what part. The road to a regulated market. The process that has yet to come will take at least 1.5 years. I'll explain a bit about it. First of all, of course, you know, the bill has to be discussed in Parliament and afterwards in Senate. But we also have quite some lower regulation that needs to be consulted first with Parliament and Senate and afterwards with our Council of State. That all will take quite some time, and therefore you should not expect to have a working licensing system before 2017. So in that, with that respect, I'll join Justin with his analysis. Next topic is the lottery system modernization. In the letter we sent to Parliament, we used the term recalibration. I think that's a better term. In the letter my cabinet sent to Parliament, They said the regulation of remote gaming has a higher priority than the lottery reforms. We want lotteries that are attractive to both players and charities, and licenses need to be provided in a transparent way. My government sees space for new national charity lotteries if they can be licensed under the right conditions, in a way that both consumers and charities can profit.
What are your plans to either close down commercial operators? Are you going to enforce them even further, or are you satisfied with the current level?
I think we have been quite clear about this, also with the latest response to the questions from Parliament. So it's up to the gaming authority to supervise the market. And they have prioritization criteria with which they prioritize their enforcement.
But I think it's absolutely vital that we look ahead and we don't wait too long, because in our view, every day squandered is a day less of extra funding for charities.
Yeah, but that's because you're a for-profit business and you want to get in there and make profit.
We want to give away the same percentage to charities as the current charity lotteries do. So let me be clear about that.
Right.
Broadening the market has given more money to players for the first place, and also money for charity in second place. So if we see when postcode lottery joined the market, it grew. Yeah. If it will grow as much as predicted, I don't know for sure, but it's a difficult market at this point. But it will change, and there will be some growth. Why should you be alone on the market? It's good to have some kind of a competition, again, within one of the both situations.
If you allow competition, and you should be wise about allowing competition, there should be no big bang. That's not what I believe would be a wise thing. But if you allow for guided opening of the market, so competition, then that will drive innovation, and that will drive consumer experience in the lottery industry.
But I'm just intrigued. I've read that you have ambitions to go into the traditional online gaming, i.e. in slots and casino games and whatsoever. How could I bring those two together? Because you want to use your protective position to go in an open market. And the other side is, if that's positive, why wouldn't we turn the situation around and make that market open?
To be clear, our mission is to raise funds for charities. So from that perspective, the new legislation won't bring a lot, I think, for charities. But on the other hand, it's a market reality, so we investigate opportunities there. And well, since it will not add much to our fundraising mission, it might bring some fun and entertainment for our players.
We see this development of online games, being it slot machines, being it poker, being it bingo, being it whatever. Our basis is still in the lottery, but it's a nice add-on to the thing you have. And why not turn the other way around, as you asked, opening the lottery market? I think that is what we heard of Dennis van Bremen, that the government is thinking about that situation right now, and we have to wait and see what will happen there. And again, as I said, what we saw in the last years is that when there was a little competition added to the markets, it was better for all of us. So,
here's a question for you. Are you prepared to also give, let's say, 50 or 40% of your revenues to charities from the online gaming activities you are going to deploy? Thanks.
That's an interesting question, and to be very clear on that, since our objective is to raise money for charities, we would do everything to also give part of that proceeds to charities. So you have to be realistic that it won't be 50% of the proceeds, no.
I'm curious, Arjen, how would you describe lottery? Is it gambling to you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, Camelot won't like you for that.
No.
Is Richard in the room? He was just saying earlier that he differentiates between the two very clearly. And you know, in the UK, they try and draw a very strict line, but it's an interesting response, therefore.
But I can imagine that from a business point perspective or a regulatory point perspective, you might find different. But if you look at what the player in the street is thinking about a lottery, he thinks it's gambling. And we're not regulators. I tend to feel a kind of a taste in some questions that as we are regulating the market, Sigrid and I, and that's not true. We're only players on that market, and we're following the developments that goes on. And if there are new parties like Lotto8 or whatever who want to enter the market, find a way.
So you haven't lobbied over the course of the last?
No, not on that point.
Just checking.
No, only on the getting merged.
How do you move your players from being lottery players to other products? You can move them to slots and casino, but can you move them to poker or sports betting?
With respect to moving your customers from the lottery product to, let's say, hardcore gambling products, I would be very careful. I would even plead against it. Given the fact that lotteries have the role that they have in the Netherlands, at least the charity lotteries, I don't think it's in the interest of the charities and sports organizations that depend heavily on the income of lotteries. So I would be very careful to basically mud the waters around lotteries.
Okay, afternoon everyone. I think the first thing to say is thank you to Gaming in Holland for having both bits of H2 up here. So we're the co-directors. I'm going to kick off. I'm David Henwood. Simon Holliday, many of you know.
At the moment, we're expecting legislation in 2017. We think the onshore market will start off around just under 180 million euros in gross win at that point, with that lack of momentum, but will then grow at a higher CAGR than we would have been expected, because there would be some of this recapture to reach about 345 million euros by 2021. And that's assuming a 20% tax rate, which is the current tax rate that's in the legislation. So that would, from that we could deduct that 270 million of tax would be generated over those 5 years. Then the bottom graph, that looks at the proportion of betting and gaming that's online or interactive. The red line is Denmark, the Netherlands is the blue line. You can see right from day one, or at least 2003, there was they were moving away. I mean, you see when Denmark regulated, they got a slight upswing. Obviously, the Netherlands has a slight swing to the downside when we think there's this pullback of operators in the current years, but then goes to the trajectory we're expecting. So, we wouldn't expect suddenly in 2011 you regulate and you get the Danish percentage. You might get a more parallel trajectory from them, but we can't see the Netherlands catching up with the Denmark.
Just one question about the rate of migration of offline gambling to online gambling. Do you have any idea about that?
But that's happened already. That's happened in the early days in 2003, 2004, 2005. You might get a few younger guys now who are betting online and the older guys who stop betting, and it's a generational shift. In gaming, we don't think there's any cannibalization at all, because it's about the experience. Online maybe is a choice between things you do in the home for entertainment and things you do when you're out. As well, there's definitely an advantage for the operators in the land-based side, on the gaming side, to be involved in the online market, because it keeps them in contact with that customer on a more regular basis, opens up new customers to them who they can drive into their land-based facilities. So rather than it be a substitute, almost could see it as a complementary good.
Thanks.
Okay.
And perhaps you know this guy. I think his name is Rutger-Jan. I don't know if I say it right. He was until recently the chair of the charity platform, and he took this table, this graph, and presented it in the parliament debate in Holland. And what it says is that the lotteries in Denmark declined 20% from 2011 to 2014. And by saying that, he said, if you do the same in Holland, the same will happen. And the Dutch state would lose, what was it, I think 150 million euros. This is absolutely wrong. Let me tell you this. This is just manipulation of numbers, I have to say. What happened? The charity platform have been reading annual reports from Danske Spil. And what happened from Danske Spil from 2011 to 2012 was that they started calculating the numbers in a completely different way. You could not, they did not use the profit from online betting anymore, so that was deducted. The taxes were changed. So it was a widely complete different number that was generated for 2012.
Different opinions are always good. So, San, how about you? What are your thoughts on the idea of a level playing field?
I can be short about that. For the land-based industry, the proposal, the law proposal now in place is not totally not a level playing field for our business. So that's my statement. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Yeah. Rutger-Jan?
Well, I think I agree with Alan. We want to give the consumer a reliable, responsible, and attractive regulated environment so he can play and have fun. Level playing field discussions are about the online market and not about the lottery market or about the casino market. It's about the online market. And the longer the whole regulation process takes, and it takes now already a couple of years.
Well, I agree on the time it's taking now. It's taking too long.
Has the regulator done as much as it can at this stage to clear the decks, or I don't know how you want to describe it, but effectively stop the marketing of unregulated sites?
When we do nothing, consumers and politicians start to complain. Well, we really have to focus on the bad cowboys who would not get a license in the Dutch market anyway. All the parties we asked last summer, they stepped down the level of marketing.
Okay. Alan, what are you seeing on the sort of the licensing side and the regulation side? Are you seeing a huge build-up of people ready to apply for a license when they're able to?
I think most are waiting to see what the secondary legislation brings. That will bring out a lot of detail, which we don't have at the moment, whatever the political reasons may be for that. And I think that will determine, along with the tax discussion, how many operators there are. I doubt there will be 280.
No.
I doubt there would be 40 to 50, quite honestly, at least after a couple of years.
Let's move. Let's roll on, and let's regulate this market sooner than later.
The longer it takes, it's going to be more difficult to shift the consumer to the legal websites, and that is the most important thing to me.